Hello, Alaska family. My name is Ronda Swanigan. So happy to be with you guys today, all the amazing counselors out there. Um, just so happy to be with you guys virtually and excited to go over my presentation today. It's called Beat the Heat. It's a summer program that I created this past summer was our first year implementing it. So I'm going to kind of go over just the ins and out of the program and just some of the systems and procedures that we created. So Beat the Heat, minimizing summer melt for graduating seniors. Again, I am Rhonda Swanigan, College Access Counselor Lead for Grand Prairie ISD. So if some are saying, well, what is that? What's a College Access Counselor Lead? So what I basically do, each of our high schools has what we call a college center. And in our college center, we have different advisors in the center. So we'll have our district college advisors and our partnering advisors, which I'll go over in a little bit. And I oversee those centers. So I meet with them monthly, just going over strategies with them, offering them support. It's been an amazing journey. I love my job and I love my team. And so we'll be going into that right now. So let's begin. All right. So the Beat the Heat breakdown. So this is gonna kind of give you an overview of what I'll be discussing today. Summer melt overview. Beat the Heat Planning Committee. So I'll actually kind of go over how I formed the committee. You'll actually be able to see a sample of one of our agendas. Exit surveys. So I'm going to be going over our exit survey. So that's exciting. Review data. Forming your summer teams. Summer communication and collecting data. So we got a lot to cover, so let's go. Harvard Summer Melts tool. So I got a lot of my research from Harvard Summer Melt. They actually had an article which was titled The Harvard Summer Melt Tools, where we got a lot of our research and data from. So across the country, between 10 to 40% of college intending students, particularly those from low income backgrounds, they failed to enroll their fall semester. So that basically what summer melt means when they use the term summer melt. A student is melting, meaning they're wanting to go to college, they're intending to go, but they just don't show up fall semester. So between 10 to 40%, our school district for class of 2019 is kind of right in the middle of the study or the stats that were pulled from above from what you see. So our district for the class of 2019, 21% of our graduating seniors, they were planning to go to college, but they never enrolled in the fall. Okay. So if you don't know what your percentage is as far as the summer melt, it may be great to kind of pull that data. We got that data from the clearinghouse. So for the clearinghouse data, you always get it in December. So December of 2020, or this December, we're going to be getting data for the class of 2020. Okay. So this December, we'll be getting class data from our class of 2020. Okay, so we'll be able to kind of see if we made some gains as far as making sure students transition off to college. So like I said, we got it from our clearinghouse data. So it would be great for you to see where your district is at. Do you guys fall in between the 10 to 40%? It's really good to kind of know now, just dealing with COVID, we have a lot going on. So we have to work even harder to get with our students, get with our seniors to make sure that they're successful and they have all the resources that they need. Okay, so what is summer melt? So I kind of went over it on the previous slide, but it's when you have college intending students that fail to enroll at all in the fall after high school graduation. They define college intending students for students that have already completed the different items, those important key components, such as applying for college, being accepted, completing FAFSA, know what they qualify. So these are students that have successfully completed those key components, but when it came to enrolling in the fall or showing up in the fall, they didn't. So that's exactly what this term summer melt means students who have all the intentions of going to college, they don't enroll in the fall. Why do students melt? So before we created the Beat the Heat program, I wanted to first see the data to get a baseline. Where were we at for the class of 2019, which is 21%? And why? What are some of the reasons why do students melt? A lot of them are common, and it could vary from district to district or even campus to campus. So what do you think some of the reasons why maybe some of your students at your campuses don't enroll in the fall? What are some reasons? It might be the same as what we're going to go over in a minute, but kind of think about that and start jotting some notes of what you think those reasons are. One is lack of resources. So a lot of times when our students graduate, they might not have access to their counselor, or maybe the college centers are closed. And a lot of our students, rely heavily on our district, our college advisors, as well as our counselors. So maybe not having those resources available, lack of support. We see that a large percentage of our students who don't transition to college, they may be first generational students. So they may have parents that are wanting to help them, but they might not be able to help them with those different vital steps to transition to college successfully. The lack of encouragement. So maybe they don't really have encouragement around them. Maybe their families have different plans for them than what they have for themselves as far as going to college. And the lack of follow through. So, a lot of times students are exhausted, especially this past school year has been very rough. So they've completed all the steps to get accepted, but maybe they're just like, you know what? I can't find my email for housing. So forget it. I'm just going to take a year off, or forget it. I'm just going to work. So it's just, sometimes it could be something that little that can stop a student, or, you know what? I can't find my shot records and I don't have them. So I'm just not going to go. Okay. So the lack of follow through. So this was important for us. We really kind of looked to see what were some of the reasons why are students not transitioning successfully to college. So these were kind of the four main components. There was other things, but it kind of all falls in line of these four things: resources, support, encouragement, and follow through. And we said, well, we know what we're going to need to implement into our Beat the Heat program, so we know that our students will be successful. Making sure that they know that they have the support, making sure that their parents are on board too. So sending out information to parents, making sure that they have the resources handy, encouraging them, as well as following through, and make sure that they know the next steps, make sure that they know the follow through as well. This book right here is called Summer Melt. This book was amazing. So if you don't have this book and you're really interested in creating something for your campus or your district pertaining to how to combat the summer melt, this book was awesome. Supporting low-income students through the transition to college. They gave a lot of great samples as far as exit surveys, just how to collect data. So this book, I read it a couple of times and it helped me creating the Beat the Heat. So if you can get it, that would be great. Summer Melt, supporting low-income students through the transition to college. Okay, Beat the Heat planning, spring committee meeting. So no, we didn't start in June, right when school ended. We actually started right after winter break. So right after winter break, I kind of got a committee together, and I picked some key players. Who do I want to be on this committee with me? And you can see this is how we look, this picture with the table with the pieces. This is how we were. So we were all together. This was pre-COVID. So we were all in the building together, and we were able to have a few meetings before they were virtual, to kind of go over, to be intentional as far as what we wanted to see in a summer program to help our graduating seniors be successful. So those key players were, we had our lead counselors, our executive director of counseling was a part of that. We had different college reps, and we had directors from our different partners. So we partnered with Advice Texas, Education is Freedom, as well as UTA. So their directors over those particular advisors, we were able to include them as well. So really kind of think now, maybe take a few seconds to kind of write down, who would you want to see on your committee? I know for this year, I might change it up a little bit. Maybe I'll add some teachers on there. So if you were creating this program, who are your key players, or who would you want to have a seat at the table as far as to talk about being proactive in creating a summer program to help your graduating seniors? We set goals for each meeting. We held each other accountable. We had action items. And this was really helpful for me, because at first I was like so stressed, like, how am I going to do this? I came up with the idea of, I want to see this big summer program to help our students, but how am I going to do it? And you can't do it by yourself. The advisors can't do it by themselves. I can't do it by myself. So it's important to bring other people that are knowledgeable and have the same goals as you, and are passionate about the students as you are, to all come together and come up with some great ideas. We came up with some amazing ideas that I have never even thought of. Okay. And we set action items. So we kind of, hey, you'll be in charge of gathering this information. I'll be in charge of sending this out. Okay. So I'm going to briefly unshare my screen. I'm going to go to this right here, which is our agenda. So give me 1 second. I'm going to share it, and I'm going to bring up the agenda. So just some of the things that we discussed. Why do students melt? So we kind of talked about that. What are the key steps to building a summer melt program? Prior to graduation, what are some key summer tasks? So we kind of talked about that. What are students, what are those main tasks that can hold a student back from entering their fall term? Okay. We talked about senior exit surveys. What kind of questions need to be on these surveys? How are we going to target the students? So will we target those that completed FAFSA, accept into a college? What was our target going to be? This is supposed to be intervention. So you see inventions. So intervention for students who are attending 4-year and a 2-year. So it's important to have different interventions, okay? Especially for our district, some of our larger campuses, they use Dallas Promise. So it's important to make sure that those students that are transitioning, going to Dallas Promise, they have the necessary timelines or just checklists as far as transitioning, opposed to those going to a 4-year. What does that look like? Combination of personal and digital outreach. So we kind of talked about that. How do we want to reach the students? What's that going to look like? Specific tasks. So we kind of pulled our top 10 to 15 schools, and we did more than that. We actually came up with a list of almost 100 schools, and we did checklists for each one of those as far as what students are going to need and deadlines. So that was really important and helpful for our students. What data should advisors record? So when they're doing their intervention, what things do they need to record or collect? What data are they going to need? And how to analyze the effectiveness of a summer melt program. What are the matrix going to be? We look into SMART goals too. How are we going to measure it? How do we know that we've actually completed, what we wanted to do, what our goal was? So, and then we have some notes. So this was just kind of like a sample of one. I kind of have it posted on, we kind of have a projector, and I'll just have a agenda. It's really informal. A lot of times we talk about things that aren't on here, but pertaining to the success of our graduating seniors. But this is a just good foundation of where to start and to keep us on task. Okay. So I'm going to unshare that, get back to the PowerPoint, but that was just a sample of our agenda. Okay. So very helpful. So take a second to think of maybe when you want to start this. I think we might start a little bit earlier, maybe even before Christmas break. And who are your key players? Would you like to see on your committee? Okay, so make sure you have that down. Senior exit survey. So our senior exit survey. We took time to do a lot of research. We looked at the book that I showed you earlier, Summer Melt. They had some great ideas. We talked to our advisors. We talked to our counselors. And so this was really just a team effort of putting this survey together. Okay, I'm going to briefly go through it because I know you guys are like, ooh, what questions? But before I go through it, start thinking of that too. What are some important questions that are going to be essential as far as helping you for the summer when you're meeting with these students? Okay, so I actually have a sample. So we use Qualtrics, and we love Qualtrics because once we get the data, it's easy to manipulate as far as you want to do a PowerPoint presentation or things like that. So we do use a program called Qualtrics. Okay, so let's go through that now. I am going to share my screen one last time as far as switching over. And this is our survey. So welcome to 2020 Grand Prairie ISD Senior Survey. So it just kind of goes over it real quick. And I am gonna rush through it, but some main things are asking the students their name, their ID, their cell, their which campus they attend, because you want to have accurate information to reach out for them over the summer. So getting their email address, their parents' email address, because we contacted parents as well, their cell numbers. So just kind of getting that personal information. I'm just gonna put, just so we can go to the next one. But all of their personal information is very important. So make sure that you add that. Another thing, what are your plans? So you want to know, is a student want to go to college? Are they wanting to take a year off? Are they wanting to work full time? So what do you plan to do? What type of institution? That's important. Do you want to go to a 4-year? Do you want to go to a 2-year? Have you completed your college checklist? So we actually give our students checklists that are going off to a 2 to a 4-year. This is sometime right after they get accepted. And it kind of gives them a list of everything. So have you completed all your college checklist items? If it was no for any of these, they would click this. And this is good for us because if we know, oh, a student hasn't submitted their final transcript, we'll know exactly what we need to tackle for that student for the summer. Have you completed your FAFSA or TASFA? So they can put that in there as well, or no, they haven't. Because if we have a student that wants to go to college but hasn't completed their FAFSA or TASFA, we will know what we need to help them with over the summer. When do you plan to start school? We have some students that want to start in the fall, some students that maybe want to take a class in the summer or wait until the spring. So that's important as well. We list different colleges. What college do you plan to attend? If it's not on that list, we do other. Select one area that best fits your career plans for high school. So what are some areas, what do they want to do? Do they want to do health, or what do they want to major in? Please tell us about your career plans you want to pursue so they can write that down. Let's see, will you be the first one to graduate or first one in your family to go to college? So this question is important because it'll tell us, number one, if they're a first-gen student. The highest level of education for your parents, they can put that on there. And this was a good question. Were your school counselors and college advisors available to talk to you about college? So this is important because we want to make sure that we are serving our students. This was a question, how has COVID-19 impacted their future? That was important because some students may say, well, I was going to go here, but I don't want to go too far because I want to be close to my parents. Will you have access to electronic device after graduation? This is important because if a student says no, we can help communicate through the college that they're going to attend to see if they have any type of electronic device that the student can use. This question was very important for us. What is your level of stress regarding plans for graduation? This question was important because we hit on the social emotional piece. We actually had a social worker that was a part of the team over the summer, and any students who pressed moderate to severe, she had that caseload. So it was very important for her to touch base with the student and the parent over the summer, give them resources. We have a free counseling resource called Dial where they can use if they're wanting to talk to a licensed counselor to just kind of go over some things of maybe anxiety or if their stress levels high. But this question was really important because with COVID, that turned a lot of people's world upside down, especially our graduating seniors. So those students that did press severe stress, we were doing another outreach with them as well. They're going to get the college planning help, but we had our licensed social worker that actually talked with them and gave them some really good resources. So that question was important for us. Would you be willing to come back as a guest speaker? This is good because we kind of know if we're wanting to reach out or do any events, who we can talk to. What resource or staff members did you find helpful? This is good data because if we notice that Zello was a popular one, which it was on our survey, we know that Zello is doing a great job of providing a lot of college planning resources for our students. What advice would you give a junior going into their senior year? This is important because we kind of use this data as well. We're going to use it to kind of create something for our rising seniors as far as, hey, these are some advice from the class of 2020. So we got some really great feedback for that question. I'm so glad we put that in there. And that's it. The cool thing about Qualtrics, depending on what the student selects, so if they say they're going to college, and I did the college route on this one, it shows all of the questions pertaining to college. If we had a student that said career, we have certain questions for that. In military, we have certain questions for that. So if we have students that are going into the military, there was specific questions that we asked, and we'll get data on that. So not only did we help students over the summer transitioning to college, but we also help students going into straight to the workforce and to the military. So that was our survey. It wasn't too long, so a student can complete it, less than 10 minutes, and that's good. You don't want to have too many questions because if you do, a student's just going to start clicking stuff. So what are some of the questions that you can really get some good data from? That's going to be quick. That's going to help you with your data and help you support the students. So I really loved our survey. We did a lot of research before we created our survey, and the information that we got afterwards was perfect, is what we needed and what we analyzed. So kind of think about, I just went over mine. The Summer Melt book, they also have some surveys. If you go to the Harvard Summer Melt Tool Study, they also have some example of some senior exit survey questions. So kind of think, what are some of the questions that you want? It might be some great questions that I haven't thought about that you're thinking as far as, hey, this might be important. And we're going to tweak it for the summer. Yes, the summer of 2021, just with everything with COVID. And you saw some of those questions that asked that, but what is your senior exit survey going to look like? And what really helped us with the survey is the committee. We kind of all came together. We used the different resources. We used other studies from other districts where they put out their survey as well to see what kind of key questions is going to help us get the good data that we want to help our students. Okay. So I hope you found that helpful. Let's get back to the PowerPoint presentation. Our senior exit survey, our counselors, oh my God, they did an amazing job, of course. But they were able to give out that senior exit survey during the senior checklist process, I guess, at the end of the school year when seniors are going to have to, go through certain steps or procedures to make sure they graduate, sign up for their cap and gown, did they turn in their books, things of that nature. So the senior exit survey was implemented to that. So we got a very good response rate for our senior surveys. We got over 75% of seniors that completed it. And mind you, this was in May. So this was right in the midst when everything was going on with COVID. So to get a senior response of over 75% was just amazing. Like, it was just amazing. So kudos to our counselor, kudos to the team. Teamwork makes the dream work. So they were really able to push that senior exit survey out for our seniors, and we got a really good response. So we were very excited about that. As far as the percentage of seniors who completed the survey, I think what helped too was just the easiness of it. So going through Qualtrics, counselors submitted that through the different portals for the students to get to it. Sometimes I think they even sent it through maybe Canvas or email, but they made sure that their students got it. And when they met with their students before they checked out, they made sure that the seniors completed their survey virtually, but they made sure that they completed the survey. So that was great. So we had our committee, we went over our goals, we completed the senior survey, and forming your summer team. So take a second, who would you want to be on that team as far as this boots on the ground? These are the people that are meeting with your students, meeting with the seniors, helping them with their transition. So we had high school counselors, our district college advisors. So here's one, this is Melissa Rodriguez. Advise Texas. So those are our partnering advisors that are contracted in. So we use them, all of our Advise Texas college advisors. We also contract with Education is Freedom. And so they have advisors that work full-time, but they're contracted in with our district. So they helped out over the summer. UTA Bound for Success, as well as UTA Student Mentors. So we had about, I would say, 18 to 20 advisors and counselors that worked throughout the summer to help. So we wouldn't have been successful if it wasn't for our college access team, our counseling department, which has been amazing. So that consisted of some of our counselors, as well as our college advisors from College Access. So kind of think about who you want on your team, forming your team. What is that going to look like? I know how some districts, they may use teachers to be a part of their team. Some may use admin, so maybe assistant principal. Some may, I even seen coaches. So really kind of think of who do you want to carry out this work over the summer? Because that's a big commitment to, hey, I need you the whole summer to work this summer program. You might have people that say, no, I can't do it. But you might have some people that, will have the time and are also passionate and align with the goals that you want for your seniors that will be on board. So just let them know up front the time commitment. Ours was the entire summer. And it was about 4 hours a day. Monday through Thursday, because our school was closed during the summer on Fridays. So our advisors worked Monday through Thursday, about 4 days a week, and they were kind of able to pick their time based on their load of students. So each advisor was able to get a group of students that they kind of, had to wrap their hands around, and that they worked with for the entire summer. Review the data. So once we got the team and the survey was complete, we reviewed the data with the committee and our Beat the Heat summer team. It's really important. Before you can help, you need to kind of see where your students are. So first we reviewed it with the data, the committee. We reviewed the data with the committee, and we kind of talked about just some of the trends that we saw in some of the students' responses. What were some things we may need to tweak for resources for our Beat the Heat program? What areas do you need to focus on? We adjusted goals. And after we talked about it with the committee, I shared the data with the counselors and advisors. So each counselor and advisors had a group of students. So they were able to see the data for that particular students that they were in charge of. They really like that as well, because before they start calling people, they can kind of see, oh, wow, I have 80% of my students that are that haven't done FAFSA, or that's just an example, but maybe I have 20% of the students that didn't do their meningitis shot. So let me make sure I have some resources and things in place for those students. Or I have, 10% that still need to do the orientation, so I can get that set up. So this information the counselors thought was very helpful, because before they can move forward with meeting with their students, they kind of know a little bit of background about them based on the data. So kind of think about what you would like to do for your program after you completed students completed the exit survey. You formed your summer team as far as what that consists of. How do you want to review the data? How do you want to review it? And how will you adjust the goals, and maybe just kind of adjust what your program is going to look like? And I did a lot of adjusting once that data came back as well, because we saw some trends that, not that we didn't expect, but some trends that we didn't think about. So we were able to adjust. I hope you're taking lots of good notes. Resources and support for students and parents. The Padlet Beat the Heat site, which I'll go over in a minute. We have the district website. So everything that was on our Padlet site, it was on our district website as well. The Padlet site, which I'll show you in a minute, it has everything. So a student can go there, and almost everything that they need pertaining to transitioning to college was on there. So we'll take a minute to go through that. Advisors/counselors provide specific resources. So based off their group, they were also able to provide any additional resources when they met with their students. One-on-one advising with students and parents through Zoom. So our advisors and counselors did a lot of this. College rep webinars. Try to say that 3 times fast. But we had webinars as well from some of our popular colleges that our students go to. So they kind of went over what things look like post-COVID, certain deadlines and different procedures and things like that. So the students found that very helpful. We were able to put the recordings on our district webpage so students can refer back to those videos. Social emotional support from social workers. So like I said before, we had that question for stress. I felt that was really important. And our social worker, she did an amazing job this summer with reaching all of the students that were on her list that said that they were severe or moderately stressed. And she was able to provide lots of resources. She did some follow-ups all the way until they went to school. So I felt like that's key, because we always talk about, make sure you do this, your housing, this and that, but how are you doing? Especially during this time with, it's just so much going on in the world. So just making sure that our students are good social emotionally, because if they're not, how do we expect them to be successful, during the process if they're not good social emotionally? So we really made sure to put in a question dealing with that. So when you're creating your survey, you may want to get extra support, maybe extra counselors that just solely do work with those students who are feeling severely stressed. Okay. So these were just some of the resources that we provide over the summer. We had a lot going on. We had to change some things due to, going virtual, but we were able to pivot. Our counselors, our advisors, they were able to succeed all expectations as far as meeting with their set of graduating seniors. And we got a lot of great feedback from our summer team, as well as our students and parents that worked with someone over the summer. Okay, so I want to take you to our Beat the Heat Padlet real quick. I am going to stop the share and reshare, and you will see our Padlet in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this was also on our district website. So parents, everyone had access to this, as well as our students. So our advisors gave this information out to all of the seniors. They gave it through Remind, through email. The parents had it. We really wanted to think about what are some things that our students, or common questions that they ask over the summer, or what they're going to need. So the first thing, we have virtual counseling. So we kind of just said, welcome, make appointments. So we kind of had a Google Doc that we checked every day, where if we had a student that needed someone, that day or maybe the next day, they can complete the Google Doc where they would put what time or day works best for them and what are they needing help with. So we listed all of our advisors that were on here, our counselors that were on here as well, where they can just email them directly or complete the Google Doc. We had our college checklist, and this was perfect. So we had like a college transition checklist that kind of went over the key things. So what are the 10 things that you're going to need? You're going to need meningitis. You're going to need make sure FAFSA is complete, payment. So we put all of that in our checklist. Our Texas College Update. This is a Google Doc that we created that had a list of almost a majority of the schools in Texas and their different deadlines. So shout out to our Advise Texas, because they actually put this together for us. And it was really, really helpful. Students can go and see their school and see the things that they need and when they're due. So that's really important. Beat the Heat webinars. Here's were just some of the webinars that we had. So we had Texas Southern, we had the Zoom link, so students can go to their Padlet or the district website and sign up for UNT or UTA or Texas Southern. And we had a college rep that was there to do the webinar, and it was recorded so they could see it later. We picked some of our most popular schools and put the portals, because a lot of times when students are transitioning, they need to keep track of what's going on in their portals. So we had that here. Our large campuses, we're in with Dallas Promise. So we have all the Dallas Promise updates, the new student orientation on here, transitioning to college. This is kind of like their guide. It's about 80 pages, but it helps the student transition from when they got accepted all the way into like their sophomore year. I wish I had something like this, but it's okay, accepted, now what? And it talks about a syllabus. It talks about picking your schedule. It talks about roommates. It talks about money, it talks about credit, all the things that I wish I would have had when I was going into my freshman year, but it has all that laid out to them. And it's really cool. It keeps the students engaged. So this was a great resource for our students that they love and can refer back to. TSI remote testing, that was really, really difficult as far as how can we do remote testing? So we have that information. Like I said, we not only help students transition to college, but we help students with military and careers. So we kind of had career info here, job opportunities, military info of who they can contact, coping with anxiety and stress. We had that on here too. Dow Care is our free virtual counseling service, so students can go here and talk with someone. We also had resources dealing with stress and anxiety, and we had Zello. So we use Zello. We love Zello, and we had information for students to go into to submit their final transcripts. So anything that you can think of, we had on this site. I hope you find it helpful. Our students found it amazingly helpful, because a lot of times they could just use this without even coming to us and be good to go. So just having a resource like this for your students on different platforms. So we had this and we had all this on our district site, so they can access it too, was extremely, extremely helpful. Okay, so kind of take a second to think of what are some resources that you feel are important that your students need transitioning. I kind of went over what we had. What are some things that you would like to have as far as resources? Okay, you want a way for them to communicate with the team that you have over the summer. Think of checklist items. Think of, we also had information of where they can go get shots for their meningitis shot. We had all that down as far as the schedule for the vans. They have like these vans that will go each month and students can go and get shots for free, their meningitis shots for free. So really kind of think about what are some resources that will be super helpful for our students that are transitioning. I love our Padlet site so much because, like I said, we had resources not only for students transitioning off to college, but we had a lot of good resources, students that are wanting to go right into the workforce. And, you know, we have students that are transitioning to the military. So we kind of had a lot of good resources, information, person of contact for them as well. So I felt like with that site and the resources that we had, we were able to help all of our students become future ready, not just college, but career, military, future ready for their goals. Okay, I hope you're finding this helpful, guys. Tracker. So advisor counselor used a student tracker to collect data. Our tracker was a Google Doc, so it had information on this tracker. It had information for each of their students that they were in charge of. It had information, had their survey results, so they could go through and see what their students put. On this tracker as well, they were able to document each interaction. So they were able to put the date, the notes, if it was a successful interaction or not, some follow-up items, and outcome of interaction. So, you know, I worked with Sarah. I helped her complete FAFSA, and she's done with FAFSA, and she's enrolled, ready to start the first day of school. I thought that was important too, because I want to see not only were our summer teams able to help students, or help them with certain tasks, but were the students successful in finishing it? So it's very important to think about what you want your tracker to look like. So when your advisors or counselors or whoever is on your summer team, how do you want them to track that? We saw some great examples on the Harvard Summer Melt tool, so you can look at that. You can also look at the Summer Melt book. If you have it, they have a lot of good kind of questions, but start thinking about that. What are some things that you want to track, that you want your Summer Melt team to document, so you can pull that data later? And that helped because we were able to put like how many hours were completed, because they had to track how long they talked with the student. If it was an interaction through email, a Zoom, they also put interactions with parents. So a lot of them reached out to the parents as well. When they would send communication to the students, they would also send communication to the parents through email. We use Remind, all of our social media platforms. We have the Padlet, and then the students had all the contact information for their advisor that they would be working with over the summer. Okay, so our results, sorry. We had 1,600 students complete the senior exit survey, which, like I said, was amazing. We had over 75% completed. We had 1,150 student interactions. So these were not just interactions as far as, oh, I sent an email out. This was, oh, I sent an email out and the student replied back. Or, oh, I called the student and the student replied back. That counts as an interaction. We didn't count interactions as far as I sent an email, a mass email, or I sent a remind. No, we counted the interactions if the student was able to respond back. If it was multiple times, we included that. So maybe they were able to talk to one student, maybe 2 or 3 times follow up. So we included all that. So we had 1,150 student interactions. I think that's just amazing. Just because this summer, a lot of our students are like, I'm done with the virtual everything. So just having been able to have those interactions were great. 244 seniors surveyed, rated moderate to severe anxiety about transitioning to college during COVID, all received social emotional support and resources. So 244. And that's a lot. So it's a lot of students that got that support and needed that support. Beat the Heat 2021. So what are some things that we want to do, change? Timesheets and documentation. So we did a great job of that, but we really want to maybe get more detailed on the timesheets and documenting, because our advisors, we had a budget for our program. So think about that. You know, those that are working over the summer, is there a grant that you can write, or you know, how are you able to get funds to pay? If not, you know, getting creative. We were fortunate enough to have a small budget for those people participating over the summer. So that's something you can think of too, and documenting it. If you have someone that says, oh, I want to work over the summer, before you pay them, you need to see documentation that they actually helped students. So I want to do a better job of that as well. Before, turning in those timesheets, actually seeing the documentation that they did do the work. Increase Beat the Heat summer team. So I would love, that's just a dream, but we would like to even have more people on there so we can maybe have smaller caseloads. Send out exit survey earlier. So maybe instead of sending it out in May, send it out earlier. More webinars. So we wanted to do not just webinars with college reps, but webinars with maybe on just on transitioning, on different resources, how to access different resources on your college campus and things of that nature. So maybe just more webinars provided over the summer. Send out resources before the summer. So we want to have, like I said, that checklist and everything out in March when students are already getting their acceptance letters. So when the summer comes, they already know what to expect and what they need. Review class of 2020 clearinghouse data. So our class of 2020 data is coming out this December. So we'll be able to see what was the percentage of summer melt. Did it decrease from last year or increase? And we kind of have to know, when you throw COVID in the mix, you don't really know. But I felt like with the 1,150 interactions, I mean, that's just a win in itself. Here are the resources. So the Summer Melt Handbook, Harvard Center of Education Policy. So that link, it gives you all of the resources, the data. Summer Melt Supporting Low Income Students. That was a great book. And then the BA Breakthrough, How Ending Diploma Disparities Can Change the Face of America. So that was just some of the resources that I had. And thank you. So if you're wanting to reach out to me, you can email me anytime. You can go to our College Access webpage, or you can check out our GPISD College Access, where we give up-to-date information. And we also highlight all the amazing things that our advisors are doing. Our advisors are doing in the college centers. Our advisors work very closely with our counselors. Like, they go to their meetings, they're in their meetings, and we're under the counseling service department. So I felt like with that change and that shift, that really helped, because our advisors and counselors working together, it's only helped our students. So we're excited about that as well. We appreciate our school counselors. I appreciate you guys for taking the time to even come to my session. I hope you found it helpful. And if you want to reach out to me for more questions, you can do so there. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of the conference. Bye-bye.